A man stands on the brink of his destiny. He's not a warrior, nor a king. He is a priest, young and burdened, dwelling in a kingdom that has just begun to crumble from within. After 52 years of strong leadership, the monarch's fall left a spiritual and political vacuum. He knew the rituals, the laws, the stories of deliverance, but something had changed. He could feel it in the air. The priests had become corrupt, the nobles indifferent, the people entangled in idolatry, and God felt distant. What filled that void was not hope, but fear. The streets of Jerusalem were thick with anxiety. People whispered of instability, of the enemies lurking beyond the hills, especially the Assyrians, who now eyed Judah like scavengers around a wounded beast. His name is Isaiah, and what is about to unfold in his life is more than a personal calling. It is a cosmic revelation. In the shadow of King Uzziah's death, Judah trembled. The air was heavy. His soul stirred with unrest, an inexplicable trembling of the spirit. It was the kind of silence that precedes divine upheaval. Isaiah, a priest from a noble lineage, had seen the sacred traditions his entire life. They are looking everywhere for help, everywhere but up. Some whisper of alliances with pagan kings, with gods we do not know. His eyes locked onto the horizon, where dark clouds now gathered, a physical echo of the storm within him. Our salvation does not come from chariots, or gold, or foreign treaties. It comes from the Lord of our ancestors. Have they forgotten? Men argued politics. Women wept for sons who would soon be forced into war. Even the temple, once the heartbeat of the nation's identity, stood shrouded in silence. They believe we are weak without Uzziah. They think we are ready to fall. One afternoon, as winds howled through the windows of the chamber beside the temple, Isaiah sat in stillness. Suddenly, the door flung open. "Brother Isaiah," shouted Jeremiah, his companion and confidant. His eyes were wide, his breath ragged. "Have you heard? The Assyrians are on the move. We are the ones who have walked away." Isaiah remained still, taking in the words like a prophet drinking the signs of his time. "We are adrift. Our leaders are blind. Our people are deaf. Our hearts are divided. If you do not save us, we have no hope." The veil trembled. A radiant light, otherworldly in its brilliance, pierced the sanctuary. "And our people?" he asked, "the kind that wraps around the soul like fog." He stepped toward the altar, sank to his knees, and prayed, "I am undone. For I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell among a people of unclean lips." With tongues, it lifted a burning coal from the altar and flew toward him. "My eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." Jeremiah lowered his gaze. Isaiah's face darkened. "Then they are mistaken," he said. Light poured in waves across the room. A thunderous voice echoed like rolling mountains. But then came peace, the kind of peace that only follows purification. Jeremiah looked at him with sadness. "And if you proclaim that truth, who will listen?" For a moment, Isaiah said nothing, but his soul was already marked. "Perhaps no one," he whispered, "but someone must still speak." Later, walking through the tension-soaked streets of Jerusalem, Isaiah witnessed the weight of despair firsthand. An elderly priest, weathered and worn, approached him slowly, not the terror of war or death, but of absolute holiness, of being utterly exposed before the throne of eternity. In that moment, Isaiah saw himself as he truly was, impure, unworthy, small, young Isaiah, he said, his voice hoarse with age and disappointment. "You still believe he listens? Look around you. God has turned away." Isaiah did not flinch. "No," he said calmly. "It is not God who has abandoned us." The old man turned from him with a bitter shake of the head. But Isaiah pressed on. Inside the temple, a tangible stillness hung in the air. "O God of Abraham, of Moses, of David." And then the wind stirred. It was not the wind of natural storms, but something otherworldly. Isaiah's body seized, his heart pounded. And suddenly, heaven opened. He fell, overwhelmed. "Holy, holy, Holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. Terror overtook him. Woe is me, he cried, collapsing completely. Then, through the blinding radiance, a celestial being emerged, a seraphim with 6 wings. Isaiah flinched. He tried to turn away. No, I cannot take this. But the being approached without judgment, its eyes full of mercy. This has touched your lips, it said, pressing the coal to Isaiah's mouth. Your guilt is taken away. Your sin is atoned for. The pain was fierce, cleansing, like fire consuming corruption. Then the divine voice echoed again, majestic and all-consuming. Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? Isaiah, now trembling, lifted his head. He did not yet know the cost. He had no idea what this calling would require. He answered, Here am I, send me. The fire had not left Isaiah's lips. Even after the celestial seraph withdrew, the pain remained. It pulsed not just through his mouth, but through his soul, a holy fire now embedded in his being. The man who had entered the temple trembling with uncertainty now stood burdened with a divine urgency that could not be ignored. The light dimmed, the vision faded, but something inside him was forever changed. His heart raced, not with fear, but with the terrifying clarity of purpose. But there was no applause, no gathering of followers, no earthly crown. Instead, a heavy silence followed the revelation. Isaiah remained on the cold temple floor, the enormity of his experience swirling within him. He had seen heaven, he had heard God. The city bustled on, unaware of the momentous exchange between heaven and one man. And now he had been sent. As the divine glory withdrew, the echoes of the voice still rang in his mind. Whom shall I send? Isaiah had said yes, but that yes, that act of surrender, would mark the beginning of a mission like no other. Still trembling, he rose from the temple floor, and as he stepped outside, the early rays of sunlight pierced through the storm clouds as if heaven itself was confirming what had occurred in secret. One that will hurt more than I can imagine, he whispered. From a distance, Jeremiah ran toward him. Isaiah, he shouted, where have you been? You look different. Isaiah, still overcome with the weight of what he had seen, simply replied, God has given me a mission, Jeremiah, Isaiah said. I must tell you something. Jeremiah stared. What kind of mission? He passed merchants shouting prices, children laughing, and guards arguing about border defenses. But Isaiah's eyes were elsewhere, fixed on eternity. God is sending you to preach, knowing they won't listen. He told me to speak, but that the people would not hear, that they would look, but never see, that their hearts would be hardened. Isaiah's eyes, still burning with holy fire, turned toward the city. Isaiah, burning with divine words, raised his voice to the crowd. That same day, Isaiah walked the streets with a new resolve. Every sound of the city, every face he passed, seemed drenched in the prophecy God had placed in his heart. Go and tell this people. But the message was bitter. He found Jeremiah standing near a group of men, debating politics. His friend turned, concern deepening. You still don't seem like yourself. What happened in the temple? Isaiah took a breath. God called me, and he showed me something I didn't expect. Jeremiah frowned. So you're saying, yes, Isaiah answered solemnly. Exactly that. Jeremiah's voice trembled. But why? What good is a message no one will hear? Isaiah sighed. Because even in the midst of rejection, there will be a remnant. A holy seed will remain. How long must I watch my people drift from you? The two men walked in silence to the city square. Hear, O people of Jerusalem, look, but do not perceive. Listen, but do not understand. Some paused, curious, others shook their heads. And still, no repentance. Another doomsayer, one muttered. To enemy kings, from Israel and Syria, threatened to invade. The court was chaos, advisors murmuring, guards pacing, fear thick in the air. Enough prophets, another shouted. We need warriors, not warnings. But Isaiah stood firm. blind their eyes, harden their hearts, shut their ears, until cities lie in ruins, until the land is desolate. The square fell into momentary silence. Then, laughter, scoffing, scorn. Go home, prophet, a man shouted. Jeremiah, pulling Isaiah by the arm, whispered, "They're not ready, let's go." Isaiah looked back over his shoulder. He could feel it. This rejection, it was only the beginning. That night, he collapsed in prayer. "How long, Lord?" he cried. "How long must I preach to deaf ears?" The answer came as a whisper of thunder. "Until the cities lie ruined, until only a stump remains. But that stump shall be holy." Isaiah opened his eyes slowly. Fear and hope now mingled in his soul. Days passed. The warnings Isaiah spoke became real. Reports arrived. Foreign armies advancing, border villages destroyed, mothers wailing for their children. One day, Isaiah was summoned to the royal palace. King Ahaz, now Judah's sovereign, was pale, gripped with panic. "Isaiah," the king cried, "what does your God say? We are surrounded." Isaiah approached, calm, anchored in the voice of God. "Do not fear the kings of Israel and Syria. They are but smoldering stumps. The Lord will give you a sign." Ahaz's eyes narrowed. "What sign?" And Isaiah, without flinching, declared, "Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and she shall call his name Emmanuel, God with us." The room fell silent. "What?" Ahaz stammered. "A virgin? That's impossible." The advisors murmured. Some laughed. Others rolled their eyes. Jeremiah leaned toward Isaiah. "Are you sure?" Isaiah nodded. "Absolutely." They left the palace amid whispers and sneers. On the street, people mocked. A child born of a virgin. Madness, they laughed. Isaiah said nothing. But later that night, in the quiet of his home, as he knelt in prayer, he saw a vision. A woman bathed in divine light, holding a child. The name came again, Emmanuel. It was only the beginning. Isaiah, once a respected priest, had now become the object of ridicule. And yet, he could not, would not, be silent. Isaiah whispered it with tears. He didn't understand how, but he knew the vision was real. "And he shall be called Emmanuel, God with us." And yet, the prophecy of Emmanuel echoed through the streets, but not with reverence. It was met with scoffing, mockery, suspicion. He stood often in the city square, where vendors set up their stalls and commoners exchanged rumors of war and famine. With unwavering conviction, he lifted his voice. "Hear me, O Judah. The Lord himself shall give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and bear a son." Some stopped to listen. Others walked past, shaking their heads. "If God gave me these words, I must speak them. Even if no one listens, his word does not return empty." From the crowd, a merchant sneered. "The prophet returns with his tales. One day, this child, this Emmanuel, will be born, and he will change everything. We need food, not fantasies." A child from a virgin. What next? Another spat on the ground. What kind of God allows us to suffer like this? If he is with us, where is he? But Isaiah pressed on, undeterred. Even in despair, he declared, even in silence, God is still here. God is with us. You speak of impossible things, virgin births, divine children, while our people suffer. You give them false hope. Beside him, Jeremiah whispered with concern, "Isaiah, every time you speak, they hate you more. You're stirring something dangerous. Then may your God protect you, because the people have had enough of empty promises." Isaiah closed his eyes. That night, at home, Isaiah gathered his family. His wife, quiet and steady, his children watching with wide eyes. "They mock me," he said. "They call me mad. But I believe every word the Lord has shown me." Peace rested on his shoulders like a mantle. The name whispered through Isaiah's dream. His wife gently touched his hand. "I believe you," she whispered, but belief came at a cost. Not long after, a delegation of religious leaders arrived at the temple seeking Isaiah. Their faces were stern, their tone accusatory. War threatened at every border, famine gripped villages. But Isaiah still climbed the hill outside Jerusalem every morning to pray. "Isaiah," said their elder, "your words are dangerous. How long must I see only destruction? Is there no end to judgment?" Isaiah's response was resolute. "These are not my words. They are from the Lord of hosts, and I will proclaim what he has commanded." Light radiated from him, and a voice, majestic and gentle, echoed across the heavens. The leader scarfed. That night, alone in the temple, Isaiah knelt and prayed with a breaking heart. "Lord, I am tired, my soul aches, but I will not turn back. He will be our peace. His name shall be Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." And then came a vision, "And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." A child, radiant and innocent, running among olive trees. "Emmanuel, when will this child come? We are tired of waiting." He awoke with tears on his face. "Some are starting to believe, but others are turning against you. You're dividing the people." The days passed like heavy stones dragged through dust. One morning, the wind bit sharply as he knelt on the rocky ground. "Lord," he cried, "Everlasting Father." And then, a new vision, not of war, not of fire, but of a child, not an ordinary child. No, this one glowed with the very glory of heaven. "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders." Isaiah gasped, his heart pounded. A Prince of Peace. He rushed down the hill, into the streets, into the city square, and there he proclaimed with burning urgency, "Listen, O Judah! A child will be born, not just any child, but one who will carry the rule of God." Some paused in awe, but others laughed. A child again. A merchant scoffed. Wasn't Emmanuel enough? Now another one. A weary mother holding her child asked, "When, Isaiah?" Isaiah's eyes filled with tears. "I do not know when, but I know God keeps his word." Later, Jeremiah pulled him aside. "Isaiah," he said, "don't you see?" Isaiah nodded, "Yes, but the message is not mine. I must not remain silent." That night, the prophet lay awake, the vision etched into his soul. "Prince of Peace, Mighty God," he whispered into the dark. "How can a child bear such names?" And still, no answer. In the days following the vision of the Prince of Peace, Isaiah found no rest. His dreams burned with unanswered questions. His heart pulsed with mystery. Who was this child? How could one so young, so fragile, bear the weight of kingship, of divinity? The people, meanwhile, were growing restless. Each new prophecy sparked more confusion and rejection. One afternoon, while walking alone, Isaiah felt the familiar pull, that divine whisper deep within. He knelt to pray. "Lord," he asked, "you have shown me judgment, then hope. You have revealed a child of peace, born of a virgin. But what now? Who is this child? And why do I feel the weight of something even greater still concealed from me?" No, this man's garments were worn, his posture low, his face scarred by sorrow, not battle. His eyes, not blazing, but soft, heavy with compassion. As he closed his eyes, a new vision unfolded. This time, it was not of divine thrones, nor of radiant children. He saw a man, not a king adorned in robes, nor a warrior on horseback. And a voice, clear and quiet, echoed in Isaiah's soul. "Here is my servant, whom I uphold, my chosen one in whom my soul delights. I will put my spirit upon him, and he will bring justice to the nations." Isaiah opened his eyes, breathless, stunned. A servant, he poured them onto scrolls, as if his soul were breaking open. He rushed through the city, searching for Jeremiah. From the womb, he whispered, "This servant, chosen before birth, the Lord called me from the womb, from my mother's body. He named me." Another vision, he said. Jeremiah's brow furrowed. "What now? I don't know." But his mission, It is greater than any I've spoken of yet. He didn't crush the bruised reed or snuff out the smouldering wick. He carried sorrow as though it were his own, Isaiah explained. A man, humble, gentle. He did not raise his voice. Jeremiah stood in silence. Isaiah, do you think he's already among us? A servant who suffers, but who shines light into every nation, not just for Israel. Isaiah shook his head. In the days that followed, Isaiah could not stop writing. The words came like rivers, flooding ancient paths. Listen to me, you islands. Hear this, you distant nations. No, this was a man whose calling would reach every corner of the earth. He paused, stunned by what he had just written. Days later, in the marketplace, a young man mocked him. Now he speaks of a servant. What's next, Isaiah? An invisible king, an army of clouds. Laughter rang out, but Isaiah said nothing. That night, sleep evaded him. The vision of the servant haunted his thoughts. Again he wrote, he will not hide from insult or spit. I have made you a light for the Gentiles, that you may bring salvation to the ends of the earth. Isaiah froze. Salvation. He ran his fingers across the parchment. What does it mean, Lord? The theological weight was staggering. The implications all revolutionary. They're ashamed of your name. Isaiah wasn't just prophesying about Judah's future, but soon, the visions changed again. They became darker, heavier. One morning, Isaiah stood at a busy street corner and proclaimed with sorrow in his voice, the Lord has revealed his servant, a man of sorrows, acquainted with suffering, despised and rejected. People stopped. Some stared, but soon the murmuring began. There he goes again, someone grumbled. Don't expect our support. Why always sorrow? Can't this prophet speak of victory? But Isaiah's voice only grew more intense. He will offer his back to those who strike him, his cheeks to those who pull out his beard. Yet we considered him punished by God, stricken and afflicted. A stone flew and landed near his feet. I've heard enough, a man shouted. Why would God send someone so weak? More voices joined the chorus. Shut up, prophet of misery. Isaiah's chest ached with grief. Still, he did not turn away. That evening, at his doorstep, he found his cousin Eliab, once a friend, now grim-faced. Isaiah, he began, glancing around. You need to stop. People think you're mad. They avoid our family. My daughters are shunned. Isaiah lowered his head. I didn't choose this. Eliab stepped back. Then carry the shame alone. Jeremiah, arriving moments later, asked softly, even your family now? Isaiah's voice broke. Even them. That night, Isaiah returned to the temple. Alone, he fell to his knees before the altar and wept. Lord, why do you show me these things? Why so much suffering? And then, the heavens opened again. The servant appeared once more, this time pushed, beaten, spit upon. He was despised, the voice whispered, and we esteemed him not. Isaiah collapsed. He watched, helpless, as the man was scourged, his back torn, blood flowed freely. Surely he took up our pain, the voice continued, and bore our suffering. Isaiah could barely breathe. And then, another scene. The servant, now pierced, bound to wood, arms stretched wide. A form of death Isaiah had never seen, crucifixion. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his wounds we are healed. Isaiah dropped his pen. He wept. The words were too heavy. Lord, he cried, why this man? Why must someone so innocent suffer for us? There was no answer, only silence, and the pounding of his heart. Isaiah could no longer hold the scroll in his hands. It slipped from his fingers, stained with ink and tears. The vision he had just witnessed was more than overwhelming. It was soul-wrenching. He had seen the servant, beaten beyond recognition, his body crushed, pierced, lifeless. The silence of death, the laughter of mockers, the tomb of the innocent, not a physical light, but something radiant in his soul. His breath caught in his throat. It was not the end, and yet Isaiah remained prostrate on the floor, overcome by weeping, when suddenly light broke through the darkness. He saw, again, the same servant. But this time alive. He gasped. "No," he whispered. "No, that cannot be." Yet the image did not vanish. The servant stood. How? The scars still marked his hands and feet, but his eyes, oh, his eyes, they were filled with life, with majesty, with satisfaction. Isaiah pressed his palms to his temples. "This is impossible," he murmured. "He was dead. I saw him crushed. I saw him buried." And the voice came again, a whisper of holy thunder. "After the anguish of his soul, he shall see the light of life and be satisfied." Isaiah trembled. "I've just seen something that even I can barely believe." He rose from the floor and began to pace. "You're shaking the city. This cannot be," he said. "No man returns from death. This goes beyond prophecy. This breaks reality itself." At that moment, the door burst open. Jeremiah, breathless, exclaimed, "Isaiah, the people are gathering. They're demanding you stop. Your words disturb them." Isaiah, still reeling from the vision, answered in a low, thunderous voice, "Jeremiah, what?" his friend asked. Isaiah looked him in the eyes. "I saw life after death." Jeremiah stepped back. "Isaiah, that's not possible." "I know," Isaiah replied, "but I saw it with my own eyes." Isaiah turned back to the scroll. He picked up his pen. His hand shook. Still, he wrote, "It pleased the Lord to crush him and cause him to suffer. Yet, when his life is made an offering for sin, he will see his offspring. He will prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand." He paused. He will prolong his days. What does that mean? Isaiah thought. Does it mean he will live after death? Jeremiah sat beside him, stunned. "He will see the fruit of his agony." Isaiah, you're writing that this man, this real man, will die, and yet live again. "Yes," Isaiah said, his voice soft. "And not just live, he will see the reward of his suffering." Silence filled the room. Then Isaiah wrote again, "By his knowledge, my righteous servant shall justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities." He paused, overwhelmed. "One day, this servant will come, and everything God has shown me, every tear, every prophecy, every promise, will be fulfilled in him. I am writing the gospel," he whispered, stunned, "centuries before it happens." Jeremiah stared in awe. "Isaiah, this is unlike anything I've heard. This changes everything." Isaiah nodded. Isaiah stood near the window and gazed at the horizon. One man, one plan, one Messiah. His heart was burning, not with fear, not with grief, but with awe. How can this be? How can a man carry all of this? "Jeremiah," he said, "I now understand. The child born of the Virgin, the Prince of Peace, the suffering servant, the one pierced and resurrected, they are not separate." Jeremiah stood still. "By his knowledge, my righteous servant shall justify many, and he shall bear their iniquities." His scrolls lay spread across the floor, each one etched with words that seemed too heavy for a mortal hand to carry. Because this man is not merely man, he's Emmanuel, God with us, the Prince of Peace, the mighty God, the Lamb for our transgressions, the risen Lord. But now, the Spirit of the Lord was weaving them into a tapestry, and Isaiah could see. It was always him, the child, the king, the servant, the sacrifice, the resurrection. "They are one," Isaiah said. Jeremiah shook his head, but Isaiah turned to him, tears shining in his eyes. He picked up the scroll again and recited, "Now with conviction he shall see the fruit of the travail of his soul and be satisfied." The words rang with the sound of eternity. Isaiah knew what he had written would outlive kings and kingdoms. Isaiah sat in silence long after Jeremiah had left. But now, at last, the pieces were coming together. The visions had been fragments, disconnected glimpses of divine mysteries, all one, all Messiah. And though he still did not know his name, Isaiah understood that he had been chosen to write down something far greater than any prophecy before, a divine plan that would shatter sin, conquer death, and restore all creation. He picked up the scroll, his hands steady now. He was not just writing for kings. He was not just warning a nation. He was recording the plan of God for all generations. The gospel, before the gospels, time passed. Judgment after judgment unfolded. Everything Isaiah had spoken began to manifest. Wars erupted, famine spread, the cities of Judah trembled. The proud were brought low, the temple mourned. But amid the collapse, Isaiah's spirit stirred again. He awoke one morning with a different fire in his chest, not one of sorrow, but of consolation. And as he knelt in prayer, a new vision emerged. He saw fields blooming, cities restored, children playing in the streets, walls rebuilt, laughter where there once was mourning, and a voice, not thunderous, but tender. For the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners. And there, with a voice full of joy and power, he declared, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn. There shall be joy for mourning, beauty for ashes, garments of praise for spirits of despair. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me. Isaiah opened his eyes, heart pounding. He ran from his house, through the winding streets, and up to the temple steps. O Jerusalem, O Judah, hear me. There shall be restoration, there shall be healing, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord, for the display of his splendor. The people, once hardened, began to turn their eyes toward him. Some in wonder, some in tears. An elderly woman approached. Crowds once hostile now leaned in with curiosity, some with longing. Isaiah, she said, voice quivering, do you mean, after all this, there is still hope, and from that remnant, from that holy seed, will come life? You speak like a man who has seen the end of all things. And the beginning. Isaiah's face broke into a trembling smile. Yes, he said, there is hope, because God has not forgotten us. Isaiah's words now flowed with renewed strength. He wrote, to bestow on those who mourn in Zion a crown instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning. Tears streamed down his face. But this time, they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of redemption. For the first time in years, people began listening. Jeremiah, standing beside him, whispered, I've never seen you like this, Isaiah. Isaiah nodded, because that's what it is. Judgment will pass, but a remnant will remain. And from that remnant, from that holy seed, will come life. But deep within Isaiah's soul, something still stirred. A question unanswered. He had seen the Messiah born of a virgin, bruised, crushed, rejected, risen, glorified, and returning to redeem. But one piece, the final piece, still eluded him. One night, unable to sleep, Isaiah knelt once again before the Lord. You have shown me pain, you have shown me redemption, but I sense there is more, something that ties it all together, something yet hidden. Lord, he whispered. He prayed until his body grew weary and fell asleep on the cold floor of his home. And in that sleep, a final vision emerged. Isaiah saw once more the servant, but now he was radiant, majestic beyond imagination, not suffering now, but reigning. The sovereign Lord will wipe away the tears from all faces. Isaiah 25:8 nations gathered before him, every language, every tribe, every people. The heavens opened, and the earth sang in unison. He will swallow up death forever. The wolf lay with the lamb. The swords became plowshares. The glory of the Lord filled the earth as the waters cover the sea. Isaiah awoke, trembling. He picked up his final scroll. He wrote with shaking hands, the Lord will create a new heavens and a new earth. The former things will not be remembered. They will not come to mind. He stood by the window. The light of dawn pierced the shadows. He turned to Jeremiah, who had come in quietly. Isaiah, his friend said, "What now?" Isaiah, his eyes burning with vision, answered, "He came once, and he will come again. Now I understand. The Messiah I saw." Epilogue. Why Isaiah? Why now? When Isaiah finally laid down his pen, he may not have fully grasped the magnitude of what he had written. He was just a man, flawed, often afraid, misunderstood by those he loved, but he had obeyed. And in his obedience, he had recorded the most astonishing revelation in the Old Testament, a map of redemptive history, from the cradle to the cross, from the cross to the crown. Today, as we read Isaiah, we do not read fables or fragments of history. We read the heartbeat of God, in Hebrew poetry, in prophetic fire, in divine whispers. We read the virgin birth, stories of voices that rose in darkness, of people who believed before they could see. Click, watch, reflect. The sacrifice before the symbol was made. The resurrection foretold before death was conquered. The return of a king who once came as a servant. Isaiah's scroll is a voice still echoing, calling to you and to me. A voice asking, will you believe? Will you proclaim? Will you trust that what God spoke, He will finish, because Isaiah did? If this story awakened your spirit, to more await you, because the God who called Isaiah is calling you now.